You know what they say, right? The best way of making it through with hearts and wrists intact is to realize that 2 out of 4 ain't bad. Okay, not 2 out of 4, it's 2 out of 3, that's the lyric, but I had 2 out of the 4 conference finalists correct in my Stanley Cup bracket. In my bracket, I had the Colorado Avalanche facing off against the Calgary Flames, and the Tampa Bay Lightning facing off against the Carolina Hurricanes. You can easily see which ones I got correct and which ones I did not. In this video, we're going to go over the Eastern Conference Finals matchup, which is such a dichotomy to what we have over in the West, with Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon, Edmonton, Colorado. That series is going to be fun, fast-paced, high-scoring, star power all around, but in the East, we have ourselves a defensive battle. A battle of 2 of the best goaltenders in the entire freaking league. It is going to be Andrei Vasilevskiy, who is on top of the world, versus Igor Shesterkin, who had some really big growing pains throughout the Pittsburgh series, but who really bounced back and was more than stable enough, limiting the Carolina Hurricanes to only breaking 2 goals in a 7-game series once. This is a battle of defense and goaltending versus the West, which is a battle of high-octane, high-flying offense and goal-scoring. So it's going to be cool to see Colorado and Edmonton have a whole bunch of 1-0, 2-0 shutouts, and Tampa Bay, New York to inevitably have games that are 5-6, 7-5, and all that, because you know that's going to happen. The hockey scriptwriters get bored and like to change things up once in a while. But let's go over the Eastern Conference Finals series and talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning and the New York Rangers, starting off with the tale of the tape. This is the NHL's matchup analysis they have over here between these two teams. The Lightning versus the Rangers. These teams were tied with 108 points on the year. Tampa, while they had the edge in goals per game, were at a disadvantage when it came to goals against per game. New York was one of the best defensive teams in the entire NHL this previous season, alongside of the Carolina Hurricanes, whom they had just defeated. And when it comes to special teams, the Rangers have the Lightning's number there too. They had a 25.5% power play versus the Lightning's 23.6%, and their penalty kill was 82.4% versus the Lightning and their 80.9%. Artemi Panarin was a near 100-point player. Steven Stamkos was a 100-point player. So when it comes to the caliber of the top-tier stars and point producers on these teams, there is somewhat of a comparable conversation to have. Now, of course, Tampa Bay missed out on Nikita Kucherov for a good chunk of the year, so he is kind of an exception to the rule. But when you talk about defense as well, hey, Victor Hedman, 80-point guy, Adam Fox, 70-plus point guy, plus the fact that you had a 50-goal scorer in Chris Kreider, and the Steven Stamkos-led Tampa Bay Lightning had a whole bunch of goal scorers as well. There are more comparable numbers than not to look for when it comes to this matchup of Tampa versus New York. Obviously, I'm not looking at Corsi expected goals, possession numbers, and all that. I don't want to get too deep into an analytical model that might not be proven correct by the time Game 1's first period comes to an end. But when it comes to this Tampa versus New York series, it's really interesting to see where the Rangers came from to get to this point. They've been playing off against teams that a lot of people said would be able to take them out easily. Pittsburgh, hey, they've got Sidney Crosby, they've got this incredible depth, they've got Malkin on the tank still there, they're poised, and they want to win another cup. They were up 3-1, and then the Rangers bounced back. Igor Shesterkin bounced back. They took over the series, and they took over Louis Domingue, and then Tristan Jarry towards the end of the series, and that was that. They beat a team that was suffering from injuries, and they took advantage of those injuries after initially faltering at the starting line. He then had a series against Carolina where a lot of people said, hey, the Hurricanes are a better team. And I was one of those people. No shot. I was going out there saying that Carolina was going to take it in 6 because I feel like the Carolina Hurricanes were just a better team. They're deeper. I like their top-end talent and the diversity of their talent more than the Rangers. Sure, Panarin, 100 points, whatever, near 100 points, Kreider 50 goals, Zibanejad, etc. He really lit things up towards the tail end of the Pittsburgh series, but I was kind of saying, you know, I really do like the depth on Carolina. I feel like their defense is more well-rounded than New York. And even though Antti Ranta is not Frederik Andersen, you still have a goaltending core that should be good enough to hold their own against the New York Rangers team that has had some struggling superstars like Panarin, etc. And I was wrong. I was really wrong. I said in the video yesterday that Carolina just did not perform to the standard that we know they're capable of performing to. So many goals, so much offense in the regular season, but they're only limited to 2 goals each in this 7-game series against New York. Igor just woke up. He's got like a .937 save percentage in the past few games here. He is absolutely phenomenal. But when it comes to goaltenders, the New York Rangers are playing off against Andrei Vasilevskiy, who is going to be the best goaltender they've had to play this entire postseason. They had 6 games of Louis Domingue against Pittsburgh, 1 game against Tristan Jarry, which they ended up winning in overtime. Then they had, 7 games of Antti Raanta? 2 of those games he didn't even finish. You weren't playing Tristan Jarry the entire time. You weren't playing Freddie Anderson. Sure, Igor woke up in the midst of the Pittsburgh series and became Igor. But Andrei Vasilevskiy and the Tampa Bay defense are a different beast. We have talked about this so much over the past few weeks here that the Tampa Bay Lightning just know what it takes to win. It's not only that Andrei Vasilevskiy is a super strong goaltender who's got great vision, great reflexes, great rebound control. It's not just that. It's the fact that the Tampa Bay Lightning are willing to sacrifice their bodies, their legs, their limbs, their entire ability to play the game in order to either box guys out to let Vasilevskiy see shots or block those shots themselves. We have seen so many selfless and dedicated plays from the Lightning and their defense structure this season that the reason they're even here is because they're just a team that knows what it takes to win in the playoffs. You saw all the games against Toronto, and I'm going to use Toronto more as an example because this Toronto series was a lot more indicative of how the Tampa Bay Lightning play under pressure. When the Tampa Bay Lightning have the lead, they're able to go on cruise control, and they're able to go out there and say, okay, let's just keep them to the outside, keep our opponents to the outside, that is. We'll box around the goaltender, make sure he can see all the shots, and we can block the ones that we know we have a clear shot at blocking. And that worked. It worked against Toronto in Game 7, even though Toronto played arguably a better game in Game 7 and they had all the shot opportunities, etc. It worked in Game 4 against Florida. They still won. Andrei Vasilevskiy steps up big time in these elimination games, not just because he is an otherworldly animal, but because the Tampa Bay Lightning play a structured defense system that complements his ability to slow the game down and see hockey pucks night in and night out. It's why they've won 2 straight championships, and they could be on their way to winning a 3rd. The Rangers have played some really good defensive hockey as well, and they showed a lot of that off in the regular season. They also showed that off towards the middle and end of the Carolina series too, I felt. But when it comes to who does it better, man, I really do feel like Tampa Bay's got it in them to pull off another Stanley Cup Finals appearance. I had them go into the finals in my bracket initially. It's going to be really difficult, though, because I know the Rangers have such a good story, and with this quick rebuild turnaround that they did, it's only been 4 years since they made the statement and said to their fans they're going to go out there and start rebuilding, quote-unquote. Now you're in a position to take revenge on that 2015 Stanley Cup Eastern Conference Finals opponent you had in Tampa, who inevitably lost to Chicago in the finals that year. It's kind of wild to me now, though, when I think about how the Rangers made the finals in 2014, and then they lost, and then they made the conference finals again the next season, and then they lost to Tampa, who lost to Chicago, and then Tampa won in 2020 and 2021. So this is a rematch from, 8 years ago. It's going to be fun to see how this goes. If I had to place money on a prediction, I would say Tampa Bay in 7, just because I feel like the Lightning are so unstoppable when it comes to crunch time and making sure they're able to do what needs to be done. This is not a knock on the New York Rangers. They've had a crazy story here. I still do think that removing the goaltenders, Tampa Bay is a better team. Tampa Bay should be a more capable team. Tampa Bay, in my opinion, has the experience and the dedication to outwit a New York Rangers squad that has not had the most consistent performances from all the guys you would have wanted to see. Artemi Panarin still has people labeling him as a what the hell are you doing kind of player once in a while. You have some games where Kreider doesn't show up. Probably the most consistent players, I believe, on the Rangers. If you discount Igor, because, he had that stint in the Pittsburgh series where he wasn't really all too great. Tyler Mott, isn't it? Isn't Tyler Mott, the only 100% all-the-time consistent player on the Rangers? I'm not too sure. Either way, though, you have some guys who are heating up. Fox, of course, Kreider with the 2 great goals in yesterday's game. Philip Sheetal had an incredible series against Carolina. Maybe he heard that video where I was talking about him in the JT Miller trade proposal, and he was like, yeah, no, I'm better than that, Lego. Take this L because I'm going to go and hand it out to you. Either way, though, I think Tampa Bay is going to be able to do it again. I think the Rangers at their absolute peak are going to be able to tango with Tampa, but if I had to place money on it, I'd say Tampa in 7. Igor versus Vasilevskiy is going to be fantastic to watch. We're going to see some low-scoring games, most likely, so go out there and bet the under if you are that kind of person. And talk to me in the comments what your thoughts are as well on the series. Do you think the Rangers' luck is going to run out? They've played off against some pretty third, second-string goaltenders the past few games here, and now they're facing off against the best one by far that they're going to go out there and face. If the Rangers even win against Tampa and they play in the finals against Edmonton or Colorado, they would have already played the best goaltender in this run against Andrei Vasilevskiy. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Is Tampa going to pull it out? Are they going to go to the finals once more? Let me know why or why not. I hope you enjoyed this video. Trolls 99 and bye.